Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Toon review for this morning's press conference reaction as Eddie Howe has been speaking to the media ahead of tomorrow's 3 o'clock kickoff against Leicester City in the Premier League. And of course, you can catch full commentary of that game with me and Billy tomorrow on Matchday Live. We start the show, of course, at 2:30. However, he has had a few things to say, which we will touch on this morning. Some of it a little bit confusing, as usual. But if you do enjoy the show, please give it the thumbs up. And, of course, please do subscribe if you're new to the channel and you like what you see. And, of course, you can support the channel in the usual two ways. You can join the membership. That's the join button underneath me and Billy. And, of course, super chats are available. That's the $ underneath the live comment, and that will guarantee your comment to be read out on the show. Trevor Arkle has sent in a super chat. There's no comment there, but thank you very much for that, Trevor. Much appreciated. Yeah, I know why you did that, Billy. Horse racing.
Great the greatest horse of all time.
Well, so they say. And of course, a big shout out to our sponsors, Mamaroo Records. If you're ever in the northeast, especially in Whitley Bay, head into the town centre and give Steve a visit in the shop. Of course, they do vinyl music, CDs. They do merchandise on music, sporting merchandise, gift cards, loads of stuff going on there right now. So if you mention that you're a Toon review watcher, he will do you a very special deal. If you can't get into the shop itself, then please visit the website, which is pinned at the top of the description, as is our sister channel, TTR Xtra, which is everything football away from Newcastle United. And we do have the Manchester Derby commentary of that on Sunday as well on that channel. So get yourself subscribed to that one as well, guys. Good morning, Billy.
Good morning, and good morning to all you beautiful people out there in Viewerland.
Now, we'll start off with the obvious question regarding Callum Wilson, Billy, because funny enough, it wasn't actually the first question he was asked, but he did get asked eventually, which was probably what everybody wants to know about what is going on with Callum. Eddie said that he really feels for him. We see the work, dedication, professionalism that he's shown, and you have to understand how difficult this season has been for him. He's had a couple of setbacks when he's looked so close to training regularly. He's not cut corners. He's gone through a vigorous process to keep himself fit. When you see him not get the end result this time, I feel really sad for him, but I back him to come back again and have the mental resilience he will need to fight again, because we know his qualities. Very positive on him, Billy, but at the same time, how many times have we heard this now? And again, this isn't personal on Callum. This is just what is said on a regular basis when he's out injured. It always comes to the crunch, and people say, well, he's bound to say that, and he'll want to come back more resilient. He'll want to come back better, but when he does, he's injured again.
Well, Eddie's known Callum for an awful long time. He managed him at Bournemouth before he came to Newcastle, of course. It's the fact of the matter is he's out for 8 weeks now, which takes him past the transfer window, which means he's going nowhere this season. If he gets himself fit and then provides us with a few goals before the end of the season, great. However, that does then kind of give the question, will they give him an extra contract? You never know with Eddie Howe, do you? Because he loves him that much. But we need him. We do need him. But Nick Thornton's right. We do need an extra striker. But you can't rely on him. So do we need to buy a striker? That's the question you've got to ask yourself.
Well, we'll come to that because he was asked about the transfer window again. But during that speech he said about Callum, something very interesting he said was that in some instances, Callum has paid his own money for treatment and to see various different specialists across the world. He's spent his own money trying to get this problem solved as well. And I found that a little surprising.
Yeah, he's obviously trying everything he can to get himself in some sort of fitness to play. So maybe he's paying for, I don't know, snake oil salesman medicine. Who knows? Yeah. But you can't fault him for his efforts to get him back, and to have all the setbacks he's had in his career, and he's had a lot. To keep trying to come back and doing it, it's got to be hard. However, if you're on 50k a week, I guess it's easier, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, money aside, because everybody's making a point on saying, oh, he's getting this, he's getting that. I think you've got to take money out of it at this stage, because I think mentally on Callum, this is tough. Yeah. The mental side of it. I got the impression, I said this last night on the preview show, that I got the impression that Callum is struggling a little bit, given that what he said in his statement. I felt for him. It's got to be very tough. These are tough times for Callum Wilson, especially at his age, Billy, because it's not like age is on his side. He needs to get fit quickly in order to continue what's left of his career, which is going to be extremely difficult.
Yeah, he's the wrong side of 30 now. We've seen his legs starting to diminish as the years have gone by. The injuries have helped towards that, of course they have, but age also kind of contributes to that too. You've got to feel sorry for him because all his career he's had setback after setback after setback. Could have been a star player, could have had 15 England caps, probably would have had 30 England goals by now if he'd stayed fit. But he hasn't. He's never been able to do it. Even at Coventry City when he was a youngster, injury after injury, went to Bournemouth, had a serious cruise ship there. Nothing's gone right for him in his career. But the thing is, when he's fit, the kid's lethal. Yeah. So you kind of have to kind of take that with a pinch of salt. But in our state, the way Newcastle United at the minute, now there's no kind of room for sentimentality. We need a second striker. We haven't got one.
Steve, who's watching over on X, says time for Callum to retire. His body is letting him down. His mental health must be suffering. Duncan said, Eddie talking very positive about Osula. Let's see the lad tomorrow. We'll come on to what he had to say about Osula, because that for me is very confusing. But we'll talk about that shortly. Alan said it'll have been a huge blow given that he's only just come back from a huge layoff at the beginning of the season. Distracted Hodgson says, let's not forget what happened to his mate Antonio as well. It will work so much better if we had 2 or 3 new strikers and bring him in for cup games. Yeah, obviously he's best mates with Antonio, so that'll have been a hell of a shock to him as well, as to what's happened to him now also. So it's tough. Peter, good morning. He says, if Pope is out for tomorrow, I want to see if Lacademos given a chance. Dubravka is dead wood. Look how many goals we conceded last season, particularly when he wouldn't communicate with the defence. Yeah, I'm a little concerned at that, to be fair, and everybody should be. And now what he said was, as well, he was asked, obviously, at the start, he says, certainly a difficult week to navigate through, but it's all about being positive. Very quickly, you have to turn it around. We've got a game to play on Saturday, then another midweek game in a really important competition. So very quickly, there could be a lot of positivity. The problem is, Billy, he was asked about, he keeps saying that we've been defensively good for most of the season. And I get a little bit confused when he says that, because we haven't. And I think now, what I think he's doing here, Billy, he's playing down the problems he's got with his centre-backs. He doesn't want to sort of get into all that stick and mud and stuff like that. He wants to keep away from that and explain that he's pretty confident in his defenders, which I can understand, because if they're going through a little bit of, especially like Fabian Schär, if he's having a dip in form, he wants to keep the positivity coming in, because, he doesn't want the players to see that maybe he's calling them out a little bit.
I'd be more concerned with Fabian Schär, not just because of the form issue, but with the attitude issue with it. I mean, it's plain to see. We all see it week in, week out. Laziness, not bothering his arse. Yeah, that's the concerning thing with Schär for me. As if he's got, I'm getting towards the end of my career now. I don't have to work that hard anymore. That is concerning. And we see it week in, week out. I'm not just saying that at the top of my head. We do see it, don't we?
Yeah,
Dan Burn's different because he tries his heart out week in, week out. And he's not as good as Fabian Schär. He's not as good as football as Fabian Schär. But he kind of compensates that with the effort he puts in. The two of them together don't work. There's no pace between them. Okay, you've got the effort of Burn, you've got the silkiness of Schär. But if Schär's not bothering his arse, then you're struggling. I think we need to make a change in the centre back. Whether it's Kelly in for one of them, I don't know. But
this is what we're talking about in being ruthless, isn't it, Billy? He's got to be more ruthless and show the fans that he's got that ruthless streak as well. Absolutely. Because if there's any doubt with the fans about Eddie Howe, it's that kind of nasty, ruthless streak that a manager needs to have when a player's not playing well and has a kind of body language that is not great. We want to see the manager take steps to do this. Now, he reiterated today in the press conference that he doesn't think anybody has an attitude problem. So he's clearly not seeing what we are if body language gives away what an attitude is. But when you see Fabian Schär give the ball away and then just sort of drop his shoulders in that slinky way he does, when he knows things aren't going his way, it kind of thinks, right, if you're the manager, then surely you would want to get him in the dressing room and bollock him.
Thing is, Paul, he has to say that. He has to say that he can't see attitude.
I know. Yeah.
He has to say it. Because if he did see it, then why isn't he dropping them? And that's what anyone would say.
Well, the press would have a field day, wouldn't they? If he came out and said, I'm a little concerned about attitudes. Of course they would.
He's never gonna dig players out in a press conference. Absolutely not.
Yeah. John says it's boring watching us. We're supposed to be entertaining. Steve says, Paul and Billy, who would you play in goal if Pope is out? Well, I think we both want Vlachodimos, but we know who we'll go with. Alan says, sadly, Shares can't be rotated right now. It'll upset the balance in the centre of our defence. We don't have a second fit right-sided centre-back. Look, I've said this before. I don't subscribe to this fact that you have to be a right-footer to play right side of the centre-back positions. You can play two left-footers there. It's a very similar position, to be honest. And, you know, yes, we'd lose Shares' passing ability, but come on. I mean, has he really been that good in the last few games? No, he hasn't. So I'm not sure. I would rather see a player who is not playing well taken out the firing line because, you know, for Fabian himself, if it is just a form problem, or many people are suggesting it's his age, it's catching up with him, he's not as quick mentally as he used to be either. But if it is form, then you take him out the firing line, surely, Billy, or he's there for a scapegoat.
I just think there's a malaise over the club, full stop. I don't think anyone's particularly happy with that, how things are going at Newcastle United at the minute. Mm-hmm. And Fabian shares his testament to that. He's not the only one. There's a few others like it. You know, whenever the slightest thing goes wrong, you see 2 or 3 players' shoulders drop. That never used to be the case with Eddie Howe's sides, did it, at one point? But this season, there's a malaise over the club. There's no doubt about that for me.
Mm-hmm. Kevin says, we didn't have an attitude problem against Liverpool. We did against Brentford. That's defo a sign of an attitude problem. And I think that's where a lot of fans are coming from, Billy, when they hear, you know, various people around the team itself saying that there's no attitude problem there. But you can clearly see a difference in the way the players were up for the Liverpool game and then just capitulated in the second half against Brentford. That has to be down to attitude.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Like they've just walked on the pitch expecting to win the game. You know, we did really well against Liverpool. They're the best side in Europe at the minute. We'll beat Brentford, no danger. That's not how it works.
Definitely not. Blenchy says, did you see AG10's interview about the form of him and Isak and Bruno and him saying all the media talk is just that, as he is very happy at Newcastle and wants to play football for us? Yeah, I did see it. But we've said that all along. You know, the media, especially the southern media, who've been pushing this story about Anthony Gordon more than us. Now, do I still think his head was slightly turned in the summer? Yes, it's took him a while to get going this season. I think it was a very tough summer for Gordon, but he's played an awful lot of football as well, and I think people need to realise that he hasn't had a lot of break in the last 3 years. However, Anthony Gordon has picked up form. He's starting to perform again now, and I expect him to perform on Saturday. I don't think Eddie Howe will leave him on the bench again. I think it'd be suicidal, quite honestly. So I think Anthony Gordon will be back on Saturday and we'll see him performing. He looked very happy in the interview, put things to bed about media reports, which I'm pleased he did because, you know, especially sort of Stato's been very keen to hammer the southern media for the stories regarding Anthony Gordon in the past. Mike Elliott says Cher is in need of a rest as he has struggled for a while now. So we need to give a chance to Kelly again for me. Nick says as much as Cher needs to be dropped, Kelly isn't good enough to replace him or Byrne. I don't think, Nick, I don't quite agree with you. I understand why you're saying that, but at the same time, I don't think we've seen enough of Lloyd Kelly to make that decision, especially at centre-half. We've only seen him, twice there since he signed?
He had one fantastic game against Chelsea, didn't he, in the Carabao Cup?
Yeah.
And on the whole, apart from 2 mistakes that cost goals, he was okay against West Ham, wasn't he?
Mm.
He was okay physically. He competed really well with Antonio. Just
it could be a case that he needs games. It's very hard for somebody that just sits on the bench. Then he's been used at left back and then has to come in at centre half again. He looks a good player for me. I'm certainly not writing him off yet. I'd like to see a bit more of Lloyd Kelly, and he can't be playing any worse than what the two are at the minute. Well, especially Cher. I don't think there's a problem with Dan Byrne as much as Fabian Cher.
I'd probably prefer to see him go up against Jamie Vardy than any of the 2 that are in the side now, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he's got the pace to deal with him.
John Adams says, coincident that the Malays started when Amanda left.
Well,
we've said that a few times. Steve says, this is a must-win game for me, or what confidence we'll have, it'll be gone just like City's at the moment. Well, listen, what we need is a good win tomorrow, Billy, and that'll prepare us really well for the Carabao Cup quarter-final, which comes a few days later.
Well, this is the point about Eddie saying, a result tomorrow and a result Tuesday in the cup, that's going to make things positive again. But what if we don't get them results? What happens then? What if it's the opposite of that? We get 2 negative results. I'll tell you what happens. He's on his way out of the Duck Club. That's what happens.
Well, I'm hoping that it's
so am I.
It's the first one.
I want him to be sacked in my head, but in my heart, if he's not sacked, it means he's done well, and that means we've won against Brentford, we've won against Leicester. We're starting to pick results up. So obviously, I don't want him sacked really, but my head tells me that he's not going to change. He's not going to learn from it.
Well, we said a couple of weeks ago that December was going to be a make or break for Eddie and the club. With the games we've got coming up, see where we are come January, and then we go from there. But these are 3 very big games: Leicester at home, Brentford at home, and then, of course, to Portman Road, which will be a difficult game. But again, a one that we as fans would be looking at thinking, right, we've got to go to Ipswich. We play Leicester, 2 teams at the bottom of the league. He's got to get something out of these games. We've got to win. I'm not saying go to Portman Road and get a draw. We go to Portman Road to win that game. Yeah, I'm sick of hearing, I'd take a draw now. Bollocks. If we want to be a top side, we've got to go and win these games. It's as simple as that.
I agree. But last season, think of Luton. We went there with the wrong attitude, got beat. And it's a similar kind of game with Ipswich for me, for that. Which shows how far it will show how far we've come since the Luton game. Because if we'll have the same kind of thing again, that's unacceptable. It was unacceptable then, it'd be even more unacceptable now.
Yeah. It's about time Alex Murphy was given a chance as Davy. I don't know where he is.
He's left-sided as well, isn't he? No, that's
Steve says, just a point also, Paul, players saying Kelly getting 150k a week. If I'm a player, I'd be a bit miffed, to be honest. Well, I think
it's not about that, is it? The fact of the matter is he's out of contract.
He was a free transfer. And
he's getting his transfer fee and his wages,
absolutely.
Basically.
Yeah, that's how it works. I mean, any free transfer in football, you get your wages, but you get your transfer fee and everything, including the wages. So you always get more. Nick says Vardy is already rubbing his hands together for tomorrow. Well, let's hope he isn't. On the goalkeeping front, this is what I'm confused about, Billy. He mentioned about Nick Pope, and of course, this came out again late last night that Nick Pope was having a problem. He said he's carried a knee injury this week. Initially, we thought it was nothing, but he's seeking some specialist opinion today, and we'll see if he's available for tomorrow. Now, if somebody is seeking specialist advice for an injury, then surely he's not going to be available to play the next day. I just find it very confusing, especially with the injury problems we've had in the past. He's obviously got a problem with his knee, and to the point where he's going to see a specialist. How on earth would he see a specialist and then be cleared to play 24 hours later? I don't get that, Billy.
I don't think a specialist would be able to give a definitive answer one way or the other to if he's fit to play tomorrow or not.
Yeah.
It's, if he wants to push through the pain barrier and play, fine, but he might do himself more damage. And I don't think a specialist to be able to say he'd be doing more damage if he played. So, to me, no, he wouldn't be playing tomorrow. And we've been through this before about playing injured players, haven't we? And things come out worse.
That's what I'm saying, though, Billy. If he's got a knee injury, if he's struggling, right, and he's not 100% fit, then that detriments the team, not just Nick Pope himself. That's detrimental to the team. We need a fully fit goalkeeper.
Yeah.
So why on earth is it, or he may play tomorrow, he may not. He's seeing a specialist. If you see a specialist, you've got a problem, and a problem that is not going to be solved in a 24-hour period. Surely,
no chance. It won't do that. I mean, a specialist ain't going to be able to say, "Oh, that's all right, you can blow on that," because he ain't going to be able to see it, is he? He's not going to know. You have to have tests and all that stuff, don't you? Exploratory operations and all that. I'm going to do that in one day.
It's just, for me, it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors with Nick Pope. And I don't think Nick Pope's been at his best for a couple of games now. I think he's let some dodgy goals in. When you've got a goalkeeper who's let 7 in 2 games, that's as Cilla Black would say, a Laura goals, Billy.
Well, he makes the impossible saves, and then there's something ridiculously, that's simple to do. He don't do it, like catch a ball from a corner or have your ball away from a shot.
Yeah,
he's much better than Martin Dubravka could ever be. But I've got to say that. So obviously he's better than him. But if he's not fit to play, then I'd sooner have obviously Vlachodimos play. But we don't think that's going to happen somehow.
Yeah. John says, I don't understand half of the bullshit Eddie comes out with in his media appearances. It's another reason I think we need to change a manager. Well, you can't sack a manager just because what he says in press conferences. He may be saying what he feels is best for the football club themselves, rather than thinking about himself. He's thinking about the football club. But John says can do a quick scope check on joints in a day, half an hour or less. Yeah, but this is a knee problem, John. And he's had
tendons or cruciates or whatever. You know what I mean? Ligaments.
That affects his movement, and if you're affected movement-wise as a goalkeeper, you're not going to be at your best. And especially with knee problems. A goalkeeper for diving purposes, jumping purposes, anything really. Coming out off his line, you're going to need your knee to be 100%. You can't, hobble around with a knee problem. It's dodgy. It's absolutely dodgy for me if we decide to go with Nick Pope tomorrow, because as far as I'm concerned, as a former sportsman myself and being in the game a long time, if you're seeing a specialist, it's for a reason that maybe the physios can't deal with. And then to say you're going to be playing a game of football 24 hours later, I think is staggering, to be honest. So I wouldn't expect Nick Pope to play tomorrow.
And let's say if he does play, what are Leicester City going to do? They're going to pile high balls in.
Of course they are.
You know what I mean? They're going to know there's a weakness there somewhere, and they're going to try and capitalise on it, aren't they? He's not playing.
Geordie Dan says, gone are the days when players would just get on with it like Shearer, with his heat gushing of blood. But I agree, got to be safe than sorry. John says it will be Dubravka tomorrow, unfortunately. I think that might cost us the game on its own. John says, had that done on my knee years back, not likely to be available for next day for the Premier League. Julie says, Vlachodimos already had his howler moment against England for Greece, so he'll be fine. Darren says, interesting to see if we once again make a bid for Trafford in January. That's gone very quiet, Billy. Any sort of talk on another goalkeeper coming in?
Well, we've already got 5 in the squad. We've got Osula, not going to another one. 6 goalkeepers in 25-man squad. I mean, that's ultra safe, isn't it? I don't think we've got the money for the goalkeeper, if I'm perfectly honest. I think there's more important positions on the pitch.
Will Osula, Billy. He was asked about Will Osula, and again, confusing, because he says that Osula is now at a point where Eddie feels like he's good enough to play. Now, we haven't seen any of this. We've seen very, very little of Osula. He spoke about him coming in and he's worked with various coaches, etc., etc. The usual stuff that he said about Will Osula itself. But he said he's at a point now where he feels like he could play a part. And due to the injury to Callum Wilson, Osula, he said, is going to have to step up. He mentioned that Isak is fully fit and firing at the moment, because a couple of the questions were aimed at Eddie, saying, what if Isak goes down again? If he gets injured, and then we've got to bring Osula in. Is he ready? So I'm interested to see tomorrow, Billy, if he does use Will Osula, because he's with what he said today, that he's ready. He feels like Osula's attitude's been brilliant. He's learned. He's done very well since coming into the club. But, time, when the pressure's on, Billy, and maybe the game isn't, when the game's not going our way, is he reluctant to put him on?
I mean, I'm gobsmacked he said that. What's he done this week that's changed it from last week? When he didn't get anywhere near the pitch against Brentford. And the fact of the matter is we've used Callum Wilson in 4 games off the bench. Maybe that's kind of contributed to him getting injured again. Yeah. And maybe if he really used Osula 2 or 3 times. And let's be honest, when he came on against Chelsea in the Carabao Cup, He looked a player. He looked physical. He looked fast. He hit the post. I think he's been pretty unfairly dealt with, to be fair. I think he should have had more minutes. A lot more minutes.
Neil says, hi, guys. It's my birthday. Please give me a shout out. Happy birthday, Neil.
Happy birthday, Neil.
Have a cracking day,
return, mate.
Indeed. He did say Osula is very physical, like you've just said there, Billy, but he also mentioned his pace. He said he's very quick.
He is.
So is that very quick getting off his arse, off the bench and down the tunnel at half time? I just want to see him on the pitch. I want to see him given a goal. Maybe if the game's going well tomorrow, Billy, and around 65 minutes, take Isak off in preparation for the game on Wednesday and give Osula a good half hour on the pitch.
Well, it's going to have to happen like that because we've got an important game next Wednesday. So we've got to try and manage the minutes, both of them, really. And we need to give Isak a rest because he's played too many minutes this season.
Of course we do. Yeah.
Perfectly honest. We've got Osula on the bench. Just don't want to see him put Anthony Gordon through the middle and doing it that way and then putting players in square pegs in on the holes. Because we've got a striker on the bench. Use him.
Yeah, there's a couple of comments coming in, Billy. I don't know whether you know this, but the Everton takeover has been confirmed. And apparently Harvey Barnes is a #1 target and a director of football of the name of Mr. Daniel Ashworth.
Interesting. Good for them.
So that's one to keep an eye open.
£80 million. Everton sucks.
Yeah. Osula might be of only a couple of players with a point to prove. His attitude will be better than most. We have nothing to lose at this point playing him. Tom says, question for Paul and Billy. Would you loan out Lewis Miley in January? Absolutely not. No way. Not. We need Lewis Miley in the squad in the 11.
Playing either tomorrow or on Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely. He was asked about him as well, and he did say that he's in a good place. He's played a couple of games for the under-21s. He's in a good place, but didn't say about tomorrow. Ian Thompson says Osula is following the same path as Hall. A lot of work in the background and not rushing him into the team. Yeah, it's different with Lewis Hall, though. We need because of what's happened to Callum Wilson. You know, we need players for the here and now. It's as simple as that, not for the future. We need a squad for this, especially this month of December, which is absolutely huge for the football club. Omar says, lads, can you see us going for Dan? Not Calvert-Lewin, Omar. Let's not even.
Not now. Not another got a few quid.
Yeah. Give Everton Barnes, says Cullux. We'll trade him for Branthwaite. That might not be a bad deal, you know. That might not be a bad deal.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Right, Eddie Howe went on to speak about the team news. Joe Willock, Billy, hasn't been training all week, but he says is making good progress and could be available. And of course, Lewis Miley's come through a couple of good games for his continued return, and he's pleased with him. So Joe Willock, Billy, hasn't trained. I'm very apprehensive about players who haven't trained and then just having a Friday training session for a couple of hours and then being involved tomorrow. It's very risky when you're talking about players like Joe Willock because he is as well very injury prone.
Yeah, bench for me. Bench for me for Willock tomorrow. He's not trained all week. Maybe give him half an hour, 20 minutes, and then get him training before the Brentford game when he can start against Brentford.
And another one is Sven Botman. Apparently, Botman has now been involved in full training, Billy, for 4 weeks.
Right.
And he said that this morning. 4 weeks he's been in training, but they're still looking at probably end of December, beginning of January before he's even thought about for first team football.
Well, he's going to play Monday, isn't he, in the under-21s? And I guess it's how he comes through that.
Would you put him on the bench against Brentford?
No, absolutely not.
I mean, it would give everybody a lift, wouldn't it?
But it also gives Eddie the temptation of putting him on. No, thank you.
Yes, that's a very good point, of course. A few comments, Billy, saying that we should cash in on Willock. I'm not so sure. Joe Willock is still a player for me, and he can make a big difference when he's on song. But I think the thing is with Joe Willock, as it is a lot of players, Billy, is simply consistency. You know, he's not consistent enough. When he's on, but then when he's off, he's really off. There's no sort of middle ground.
Well, he needs to win the games to be able to get that consistency. And he never gets it because after 3 or 4, he gets himself injured again.
Wasn't much said about Big Joe and his shoulder. Nothing. And this really, there wasn't one question about Joe Linton, and that really pissed me off because it was clear as day last week that he was injured. And I was expecting somebody to say, what's the issue with Joe Linton? We noticed he went down a few times last week against Brentford holding his shoulder. How is he? Nobody asked the question. And I think
he'll be playing tomorrow then. He'll be playing tomorrow.
Well, of course he will. But I think Eddie Howe went into that press conference probably thinking somebody was going to ask him about Joe Linton, but not one single question about him. Not one. So we don't know what the state of Joe Linton is, whether he's fit. I don't think he is, Billy, to be quite honest with you. There is a shoulder problem there, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. And these things don't cure themselves overnight, do they? Now, if he has chipped a bone in his collarbone or pulled a muscle in his shoulder or rotate a cuff, anything like that, they don't just fix themselves overnight. Joe Linton keeps playing with it, but every week he seems to be hampered by it. So he's not the player we want from him at the minute.
And the kind of game that Joe Linton plays, Billy, he's got to be the physicality of his game. Yeah. He has his shoulder. If his shoulder is causing all sorts of issues, he's not going to be at his best for a physical game, and it takes it out of him a little bit. Which is why I think you said last week, just rest him. And I think if there's any good game to rest him, then it's probably tomorrow and put him back against Brentford in the Cup.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I don't think he'll do that, though. Steve says, don't know why Longstaff gets all the hate when Willock seems to get away with it. They are both as bad as each other. Neither are good enough.
I don't agree with that.
You what, mate?
They provide different things, don't they?
Yeah, Willock's more of a... He's certainly more of a player to get the ball and run.
A flair player.
Yeah, Longstaff is more the, I think, defensive, if you like. Ian Vernon says it looks like Isak is our only striker for the rest of the season. He has to play Osula, otherwise it's Gordon down the middle, which does not work.
Unless we play one in the summer, in January. Sorry, there's apparently in the chat that's saying that Keith Downey's tweeted that Pope's out for a month.
Who?
Keith Downey's apparently tweeted that Pope's out for a month, or reported it.
Right, let me just check that, Billy. I'll be able to tell you in just a second.
2 people have said it, so.
Well, I'll get the exact tweet. Okay, here it is. Nick Pope is facing a month on the sideline after injuring his knee against Brentford last weekend. The goalkeeper's damaged knee ligament saving a shot and not realising it at the time. Pope will be replaced by Dubravka of Lacademos against Leicester tomorrow. And the hope is he will return next month. So there you go. Pope is out for a month, people. How is this possible? The press conference, and then literally just after it finishes, Keith then tweets out that he's injured for a month.
I know. It's just
I mean, obviously he's seen the specialist now, but that's a very quick appointment from the press conference ending to now with a specialist. So basically, that's him gone for another month. We cannot play Dubravka for a month. It simply cannot happen.
Well,
we're in so much shit now. If we honestly,
I mean, I'll be honest. In a month, Lacademos is going to make a cock-up of some kind. There's no doubt about it. But I think it'll make less than what Dubravka will.
Russell says we should have brought Mamadashvili when we had the chance.
Yep.
Well, I tell you what, Jazz says if we play Dubs, we're fucked. Kieran says here comes Big Ruddy. I'd rather have Ruddy than Dubravka. I honestly, I mean, you know what, Billy? We had so many excuses last season for injuries, and again, Paul Beadling says, Billy, you're talking crap about
Thanks,
what?
How's your brother Jeremy?
Paul, you can't just talking crap without actually having an adult conversation. Tell us why he's talking crap. If you've got an opinion, then say it. You know, honestly, that's what.
About what, actually?
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. What's he talking crap about? What don't you agree with?
Come on, Jeremy, tell us.
Yeah, we'll see if he comes back. Max Chester says Cheshire says I rate Elanga, could do it in the Premier League and would probably improve on what we have. Fost says we could have had Marbadashvili right now. Eddie ruined that. This man is ruining our club. Get him out. Mike says Pope and Callum out. J7 could be out. Next, it's going to be bad to worse for the team and the club. So what happened with Doobs last season when Pope was out? Do not want to repeat. I mean, it's simple, Billy. You know, he can't play Dubravka, but he's going to because Dubravka has been on the bench as his number 2.
Especially not behind them 2 slow centre-backs. You know, and he doesn't come out for the ball. He'll come out 2 steps, go back 2 steps.
Yeah.
That's just a recipe for disaster. We saw it on countless times last season, didn't we? Nottingham Forest at home is the one that sticks out for me. He basically gifted Chris with a hat-trick.
Yeah. Oh, God. Neil says, we need to grow pen, spend 800 million on players and take the points loss like City. Nah, not for me, because it would be completely different to Manchester City because they'll throw the book at us. They're just waiting. They're just waiting for that point, Billy, where they can just hammer us.
Well, I don't think it's the time now because we're not that far above the relegation zone. To lose 12 points now would put us in the relegation zone. So I don't think we can do it now. If we were high up the table, maybe, but 12 points is the maximum they can give you, isn't it?
Yeah, but hey, if we lost 12 points now, that would put us in a hell of a situation.
Exactly.
A real bad situation. Christ almighty. So, yeah, oh, God, Pope's gone. They just don't seem to have learned lessons from last season, Billy, because I'll tell you why. You know, how don't they realize that somebody has a knee ligament problem? How doesn't Nick Pope realize himself? I mean, this is knee ligaments we're talking about.
Not 6 days. Why didn't he see his specialist Monday or Tuesday?
Yes. Why wait till the day before a game?
I mean, come on.
I mean, Eddie said in the press conference he's had the problem all week. Right, so they've obviously known about it.
This is what I'm talking about. A malaise over the club, really is. But the right hand doesn't seem to know what the left hand's doing. It's scandalous, really. Some of the stuff that's going on, and has been going on like this for 12 months now.
Yeah. Now we did talk about Sven Botman as well, Billy. Training consistently now for around 4 weeks, but that was the plan. We are taking medical advice and trying to follow the right protocols for the injury he's had to try and make sure we give him the best chance to stay fit. The plan is late December or early January. At the earliest, he will be available for us. And they can't take a chance on him, can they? They just cannot.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And when he does get to be ready to play for the first team, even then he's not going to be starting. You know, probably get half an hour then and just ease him in gently. By the middle of January, maybe FA Cup third round time.
He might play in the third round against Bromley, yeah. I think that's probably what they're looking at in realistic terms.
Yeah.
Graham Richardson says, if anyone pulls a ligament, you bloody know it. Eddie Howe and physio is not a clue. But even if it's a slight little niggle with a knee ligament, you're going to feel it, right?
Unless he's played it down, of course.
Yeah, well, Nick Pope himself could, but at the same time, Eddie said in the press conference he's had it for a week, and today they decide to send him to a specialist. I mean, wow. Steve says Paul, the player should be more honest if they're injured. Just look at Botman saying he was okay. Absolutely, I think the players have got to take a lot. Nick Pope, if he has kept it to himself, then I think that's a little bit stupid, to be honest, because that. Nick Pope could have kept it quiet and then suddenly just decided to go and play and do himself a huge injury. But I don't think that's the case because Eddie said that, he hasn't. I guess he didn't say anything after the Brentford game, but they've known about it this week. John says, what is the point of appointing Bunce if the same mistakes are being made? Foss says, I don't buy the fact that he's had no chance to spend. He refused to sell players that needed to go. Well, on a final point from the press conference, Billy was asked about the transfer window again. And he said, it's all about selling players. He said, it's all about players leaving. And if we can't get players out the door, it'll be a very quiet transfer window.
Well, that'll be third one on the trot then, won't it?
I mean,
he could have sold players last January and decided not to.
Yeah.
Wilson was touted to go to off that game Madrid. Trippier was touted to go out the door also. Didn't happen because Eddie wanted to keep him.
Yeah. And look, Callum's not going because nobody's going to put a bid in for an injured player. Matt Targett's on extortionate wages. Who is going to play? Again, he's never played. Teams will be taking a huge risk. If it's a team near the bottom of the league, Billy, struggling against a relegation battle, and they're looking at somebody like Matt Targett, they're going to look and say, well, how much has he actually been available?
Yeah.
Because a team in a relegation battle is going to need players on the pitch, not in the treatment room. So they're not going to go for Callum. They're not going to go for Matt Targett. Obviously there was talk last night about Sean Longstaff and saying that Newcastle will listen to offers for him in January. But ideally, what sort of price are you going to get for him? And then that only really leaves Miggy.
He should be out the door in January, shouldn't he, as well,
But is that going to create enough to spend, Billy, to get the players that we need?
Probably not. For me, I think they're going to have to spend and then think about signing one of the blue chip players at the end of the season before the PSR kicks in.
Yeah. But again, where's the money for Gahey gone?
Was it ever there in the first place? Was it one of those kind of, let's just make sure the fans think we have got something. Let's keep them in the game. We're not going to sell many season tickets if we're not signing anyone. It was that kind of a bid for Gahey.
Yeah.
It's shite. As I say, there is a general malaise over the club, and it's depressing. It's really depressing considering what we were just 18 months ago to where we are now.
That was also a question that was fired at him, Billy, about...
I feel like we're back in the Ashley era. I do. I feel like we're back in the Ashley era.
Oh, I don't think it's that bad, is it?
Well, Ashley was... At least he'd make a signing every now and again.
Well, one thing that he did get asked was on that very point, Billy, about players. Where are we in terms of the progress that the club's making? When we signed players 18 months ago and they were promised this, and this. Where do the players stand in all of this now? 18 months down the line, do they still believe that the process is happening? And he was very coy about the answer. He said that the progress is ongoing and that they're going to hit bumps in the road at certain points as well. I just get the feeling nothing is... there's just something niggling me at the minute, like there is with you, that something's not quite right. Whether that be behind the scenes or whether they're just getting a little bit frustrated with all the rules that have been put in place.
Yeah, that was always going to happen, wasn't it? They were never going to give them carte blanche to spend what they wanted. Yeah, I must be honest, it's a depressing thought at the minute, the way things are with Newcastle United. Because I don't think we've managed ourselves properly either, alongside the fact that we haven't been able to spend. So, there's going to have to be a reset somewhere along the line.
Well, listen, hopefully the reset starts tomorrow against Leicester, and then we just bounce from there, because I think we need a good result tomorrow, a good performance, a few goals, just to get things, just to get the feel-good factor back around the club after a few, difficult performances. The Liverpool game for me should have been that springboard, but it wasn't. Leicester at home is certainly another game that they will look and see if we can get that springboard into action, because I think that's where we need to be, quite honestly. So I'm hoping that we go out there tomorrow, we have the right attitude, we have the right motivation, and we get going again. And especially with the huge cup game against Brentford. And I think let's not underestimate this, Billy. For Newcastle United, this Carabao Cup is huge, and it can really have a huge effect on the season.
Well, 100%, because if we do manage somehow to win that Carabao Cup, all the clouds go, sunshine and everything's back in again. But there's that many good teams in it. I think it's going to be hard for us to do it. Yeah. If you look at it in the cold light of day, if we win our next 4 games in that Carabao Cup, we're going to win a trophy this season. Yeah.
Time will tell, but that is it for the press conference reaction, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Mods. And, of course, thank you, Billy. Don't forget, we are back tonight, 7 o'clock with TTR Friday, your very best way to start the weekend. Some football chat, banter, and, of course, your chance to come on and have your say on everything Newcastle United. Are you frustrated right now? Are you still positive, etc.? And where do you see the Leicester City game going? So get yourself on. Remember, you don't need a camera. If you just want to use your microphone and treat it like a phone in, that's fine by us as well. Just come on and have a bit crack with us and see where you lie with regards to Newcastle United right now. So we'll see you back at 7 o'clock. Big thank you to our sponsor, of course, Mamaroo Records, based in Whitley Bay. If you can't get into Whitley Bay Town Centre, they do have a website as well, which is pinned at the top of the description. Get subscribed to our second channel, TDR Xtra, as well. And don't forget to give this a like if you've enjoyed the show. And if you're new, of course, and like what you see, please do subscribe. We are heading towards 34,000. And with your help, we'll get there sooner rather than later. But that's it for now. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, folks, and we'll see you tonight. Take care.
No way, the lads and lasses. And hello, my Oma.
Come back and check out the green.